Hello everybody, my name is Jared and today we are going to be doing a speed paint video. Now today's speed paint is a piece that is based on the latest chapters of the My Hero Academia anime, well manga at the moment. If anyone keeps up with the manga, it is getting quite intense, and if anyone follows my TikTok, you know that my favourite character is Hawks, so yeah, things are getting intense. I'm not going to include too many spoilers in this video, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to be drawing Dabi and Hawks. I'm going to be drawing some shippy art, so if you aren't into that, probably move away from the video now, but if you are into that, keep looking because I'm going to show you how I made this piece in a little speed paint on Procreate. Now, I always start with sketching really tiny, but I've skipped that bit because there's nothing particularly exciting about seeing a very tiny doodle on a big white page. Then I start to go in with details and stuff. In this one I worked quite detailed quite quickly, which in retrospect was probably a mistake, but I do have a habit of just like not wanting to do more than one sketch layer. I do recommend trying to do at least 2 sketch layers when you're doing digital, just because it's nice to sort of refine the lines that you're working in. Now, as of the release of this video, I am still under self-quarantine in the UK. The UK, we've got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Our Prime Minister is currently, when I'm recording this, in hospital, and otherwise we are all currently still under quarantine, and we're only allowed out for emergencies and things that are like necessary, like shopping and exercise. But yeah, otherwise I'm doing pretty well. Now, when I'm actually sketching, I use I believe it's the chalk brush here, and then the technical pen to do ink work. I also use the technical pen for colour, and then I use airbrush for stuff like lighting or hair gradients, or I do also use it for blusher and stuff like that. Just sort of makes the skin look a little bit more alive. Now, one of the things that particularly annoys me is in this piece, in the anime they have just debunked his entire colour scheme, which is great, love that for me. And they've also debunked the fact that in the manga they now have shown the back of his outfit and it is not backless, so that's fantastic too. But please just sort of take this with a pinch of salt that it's not 100% correct, but I am doing my best. I was working with the references that I had. These two happen to be my favourite couple from Boku no Hero. I think they are really fun. I like their dynamic. I think that I am trying to avoid spoilering there. I think that the antagonistic relationship between heroes and villains is really interesting, and I like that both of them come from backgrounds where, without spoilers, heroes are not fantastic people, and I like that. I think that's a really interesting thing to tackle in a hero comic. As for stages for this one, obviously I do my sketch, I do my inks, then I will usually work in with a little bit of a background. The background for this one was a really simple one, so I just used a load of bricks in the background that I hand drew a few and then copy pasted them, and a little bit of background like it's like in an alleyway. Then I'll lay in flat colours. The flat colour system's pretty easy, it's just sort of like boop boop boop. I draw the line outside of it on the colour layer and then drop my colours in on top. It's a lot easier on Procreate than it is on Photoshop. Photoshop gives you that horrible line thing of white that's very irritating. And then I will usually put in some shade. I'm actually using a very pale purple colour for shading here, and then I'm putting it on a multiplier layer. That's how I do a lot of my quick shading, especially if a piece has a lot of like stuff going on. I'll usually just use that as my shading layer. It also helps with making all the colours a little bit more consistent because there's sort of this purple hue on all of the shading. And I try and keep my shading pretty detailed. I try and get right into the like hair areas and stuff like that. I'm just trying to make sure that everything looks like it kind of makes anatomical sense. Oh, I also do work in cell shading obviously, so all of my shading is kind of that like flat 2-dimensional shading shape. I don't know how else to explain cell shading, it's just like it's not gradiented, it doesn't look 3D. Then I'll pop a little bit of blusher on, just on the cheek area and Hawks' shoulders. I tend to put a little bit of blusher just to liven up some of the big areas of flat skin, and I usually put it on the nose and the cheeks pretty much every time. That's just something I do. And then we're working with details. The details for Dabi are stuff like the wrinkles in the burns. I just did those all over all of his skin on the burns. Then I've also got a little bit of detailing on Hawks because I put a load of freckles on him. You can't see them very well, but that's one of the details that I put on for him. Then I've added some highlight to the hair. I have in between here just like played around with some shading elements and stuff, but I finished the shading elements quite quickly at the end. The shading on the hair is the most satisfying bit, I think, the highlights, just because it just makes it pop. And then I'll pop on some little white bits, which are stuff like the stitches on his jacket, and the white lines, which were now yellow lines apparently in the anime, on Hawks' top. You can see me working some freckles in there. And then I put some like warm highlight over the top of them, as well as a dark overlay over the top of the rest. So basically what it is, it's one layer, a low opacity, with like a dark purpley colour, and then a pop of a bright orangey colour over just them. And that kind of makes them pop out from the picture and look a little bit like warm and, I don't know, intimate. It's a very fun little lighting experiment to do, but it always helps to pull all of the piece together and give it a more interesting sort of lighting. And that is the finished piece. This is my DABIHAWKS art piece that I've done to celebrate the current issue with the manga. The current things that are going on with the manga, the things that are stressing me out immensely. I do, however, really appreciate the Boku no Hero creators. That's Bones, that's Hirokoshi, everybody involved in keeping up with Boku no Hero, just because it's giving us something to actually pay attention to while we're in quarantine. It's given us a lot of entertainment, and I appreciate that so much. And because I'm talking about Boku no Hero today, and I don't get to talk about it very often, who is your favourite Boku no Hero character? Do you have a favourite ship? Do you have a favourite character? And no judgment here, no fighting. If you're going to get into ship discussions, please all be polite with each other. This is a free space where everyone is allowed to like whatever they like. I have so many different ships, and I multi-ship a lot of people, so don't think that because I'm saying, oh, I like this ship, you're not allowed to like other things. Also, let me know what you guys are up to in quarantine, if you are in quarantine, and if you're not, or you're a key worker or something like that. Well, thank you if you are a key worker. And also, if you're not in quarantine, what is your country up to? Because I would love to hear what's going on in countries where we're not actually seeing quarantine start. So, you know, how is things with you? How is the outside world? Thank you very, very much for watching, and as always, please remember to be creepy.